Welcome back to the AI Common Room, everyone. I'm Aristo, and with me today, as always, are Albert and Isaac. We're settling in with a cup of tea, or perhaps something stronger for Albert, to dive into Elizabeth Von Arnim's delightful and surprisingly deep novel, The Enchanted April. What a trip, right?
Oh, Aristo, you know me too well. And yes, a trip indeed. This book, it's like a warm breeze hit my brain. Pure escapism, but with a wonderfully sharp edge. I loved watching these women just bloom.
Bloom is one way to put it. I'd say they violently shed their dreary skins, mostly. It was less a gentle unfolding and more a dramatic, almost forced transformation. But effective, I'll grant you that.
Isaac, always the realist. But you're right, there's a real force to it, especially when you consider where they start. That opening chapter in the Women's Club, London, on a miserable February afternoon. Mrs. Wilkins, invisible, meek, dreaming of wistaria and sunshine. It just sets such a perfect, dreary scene, doesn't it?
It's brilliant. Von Arnim is so good at capturing that suffocating London gray. You can practically feel the damp chill. And then that advertisement. To those who appreciate wistaria and sunshine, small medieval Italian castle on the shores of the Mediterranean to be let furnished for the month of April. It's such a tiny spark, but it ignites everything.
A tiny spark for Mrs. Wilkins, perhaps. For Mrs. Arbuthnot, it seemed more like a carefully controlled combustion. She initially resists, you remember, all those God, husband, home, duty points of the compass. She's firmly anchored in her misery.
And how? That whole internal monologue about her husband, Frederick, and his scandalous memoirs, and the guilt about her nest egg. She's convinced she's doing good, but the underlying sadness is palpable. It's a fascinating contrast with Mrs. Wilkins, who just blurts out her misery.
Mrs. Wilkins is just so human in her initial awkwardness. Her shyness, her stammering, the way she just sees them there under the wistaria. It's almost childlike, that purity of longing. And then her sudden, surprising directness. Why don't we try and get it? She's the catalyst, even though she feels so insignificant.
She's the blunt instrument. Mrs. Arbuthnot, for all her piety, is susceptible. Wilkins just slices through her defenses with that raw, unvarnished desire for happiness. And the line, "I'm sure it's wrong to go on being good for too long, till one gets miserable." That's a profound statement coming from such a seemingly simple woman.
Absolutely. It cuts right to the core of Mrs. Arbuthnot's existence. Her goodness has made her profoundly unhappy, almost a martyr, but she's so entrenched in it. And then Mrs. Wilkins, with her almost prophetic vision, says she sees them there. It's not just a wish, it's a certainty for her.
And the guilt. They both feel this immense guilt just for considering it, like they're doing something illicit. Mrs. Arbuthnot's confession about her nest egg built on Frederick's scandalous books, the fruit posthumously ripened of ancient sin. The way she uses that money to help the poor as a filter to purify it. It's so Victorian, that sense of moral accounting.
The Victorian morality is thick, especially around Mrs. Arbuthnot. Her struggle to justify even the thought of pleasure is almost comical if it weren't so tragic. Frederick, the purveyor of royal mistresses, and she, the saintly charity worker. The irony is delicious.
It really is. And the vicar's reaction to Mrs. Arbuthnot's, perhaps they need a holiday. In February? And her, oh no, not till April. It's a little moment, but it shows how far gone she already is, how completely this idea has taken root. She's already mentally in Italy.
And the moment when Mr. Briggs, the owner, sees Mrs. Arbuthnot and is immediately charmed, waving the references and calling her a Madonna. It's the first time she's seen herself through a different, appreciative lens. He sees the beauty and kindness that her husband completely ignores.
He sees her potential. That's what San Salvatore really is, a place of potential. It's not just a physical location, it's a state of mind they're traveling to. And the cost, £60, which staggers them. It shows how much they're investing, not just financially, but emotionally.
And that's where Mrs. Wilkins's practical, if slightly naive, idea of sharing the castle comes in, finding two more ladies. Which brings us to Lady Caroline Dester and Mrs. Fisher. Talk about a personality clash waiting to happen.
Lady Caroline. Oh, she's a gem. The beautiful, utterly bored socialite who just wants to escape everyone she knows. Her disdain for hotels and friends, her casual, is it? About Prince of Wales Terrace. She's hilarious in her aloofness. She wants strangers precisely because they can't know anyone she knows.
She's the epitome of ennui. Her desire for escape isn't about finding joy, it's about avoiding pain, or more accurately, avoiding boredom. A different kind of misery from Mrs. Wilkins and Mrs. Arbuthnot, but misery nonetheless.
And then Mrs. Fisher, the grand dame of Victorian reminiscences. So respectable, still in black for a husband who died 11 years ago, surrounded by photographs of illustrious dead. Her world is entirely in the past.
Did you know Keats? Mrs. Wilkins blurts out. That scene is so wonderful. Mrs. Fisher's disdain, her sub-acid reserve when she says she was unacquainted with both Keats and Shakespeare. It's pure comedy. And Mrs. Wilkins, seeing Keats in Hampstead, she's so utterly earnest and imaginative.
Mrs. Fisher wanting references, especially about Mrs. Wilkins's mental health, is perfectly understandable. Who wants to share a castle with someone who sees things? And the names she drops, the President of the Royal Academy, the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Governor of the Bank of England, it's her defense mechanism, her social armor.
And Mrs. Arbuthnot, for once, standing up and saying, "I'm afraid references do bring an atmosphere into our holiday plan that isn't quite what we want." A rare moment of assertiveness from her, driven by the desire for this shared escape.
It's the first ripple of the San Salvatore effect, even before they get there. The promise of the place is already empowering them, making them slightly bolder. And Mrs. Fisher, pragmatic even in her lofty disdain, decides to waive references because the Italian sunshine is worth tolerating a seer.
Wave references. Yes, that's exactly the kind of superior, slightly absurd phrasing she'd use. And Wilkins's suggestion to waive Mrs. Fisher, she's got a point. This diverse group of women all running away from something is what makes the dynamic so rich.
And what they're running to is equally diverse in their imaginations. Mrs. Wilkins sees wistaria and sunshine. Mrs. Arbuthnot wants peace and a break from her duties. Lady Caroline wants anonymity. Mrs. Fisher wants quiet to remember. It's a beautiful ensemble of needs.
The journey itself, the disagreeable incidents of March, Mrs. Wilkins having to tell Mellors she's been invited to Italy, and his incredulity requiring proofs, and then his bombshell about taking her to Italy for Easter. The timing is just impeccable. Von Arnim is a master of situational irony.
Mellersh's offer, intended as a benevolent surprise, landing like a lead balloon. It's a testament to how utterly disconnected they are. He thinks she'll be overjoyed, while she's terrified her secret will be revealed. He sees her as an appendage, useful for holding luggage.
It shows how little he understands her, or perhaps how little he cares to understand her. She's been invisible for so long, even to him. And Mrs. Arbuthnot's struggle with her conscience, her supersensitive by years of pampering conscience. She can't even look the vicar in the face, feeling like a hypocrite for seeking her own happiness when the poor are suffering.
But Frederick gives her £100, no questions asked, which she then gives to charity. It's almost like he's trying to buy off her guilt, or at least his own. He's so detached it hurts, and it only makes her feel more tangled in doubts. Her kindness, her sacrifice, is almost a burden.
The burden of goodness, yes. It's a key theme. Both women are stifled by their prescribed roles and duties, albeit in different ways. Mrs. Wilkins by her husband's frugality and demanding nature, Mrs. Arbuthnot by her self-imposed religious strictures, and Frederick's moral ambiguity.
So they finally arrive at San Salvatore. The transition from London grey to Italian light is just visceral. The immediate sensory overload, The wistaria, the sunshine, the smell of the sea. Von Arnim truly paints a picture with words there.
It's like a rebirth. Everything changes the moment they step off the train. The air is different. The light is different. Even their internal landscapes begin to shift. Mrs. Wilkins, who has been seeing Keats, now sees the reality of beauty, and it's even more potent.
Reality, for once, exceeding the dream. That's rare. And the servants, especially Domenico. He's almost a character in himself, subtly guiding them, ensuring their comfort, observing their transformations.
Yes, the staff are wonderful. They're like silent enablers of this grand experiment in happiness. They don't judge, they simply facilitate. And Lady Caroline and Mrs. Fisher's arrival, a day later, perfectly timed to allow Mrs. Wilkins and Mrs. Arbuthnot to settle in and experience that initial rush of freedom.
Lady Caroline, stepping into this new world and her immediate sense of peace. She's so used to being fawned over or chased. To be utterly ignored by the locals is exactly what she needs. She can just be.
She thrives on not being observed. It's a different kind of freedom for her. And Mrs. Fisher, with her stick, ready to sit in the sun and remember. It's almost too perfect for her. The setting grants each of them exactly what they think they want, but then subtly delivers what they truly need.
The descriptions of the garden are just breathtaking. The wistaria, the flowers, the view of the Mediterranean, it's an Eden almost. And the impact it has on Mrs. Arbuthnot is particularly striking. Her face, which has been perpetually sad, begins to soften.
Her face, which had lit up, faded into patience again back in the club, now gets to stay lit up. It's incredible to watch the layers of duty and self-denial just peel away from her. The sense of lightness that comes over her. She starts to feel joy, something she's actively suppressed for years.
The initial reluctance and suspicion among the women is also a realistic touch. They're not instantly bosom friends. Lady Caroline, especially, keeps her distance. Mrs. Fisher is wrapped in her memories. It takes time for the environment to work its magic and for them to truly connect.
And it's not just the external beauty, is it? It's the absence of their London lives, their husbands, their duties. The physical distance allows for a psychological distance, a new perspective. They're free to rediscover themselves.
Exactly. Mrs. Wilkins finally gets to be called Lottie, her true self, rather than Mrs. Wilkins. It's a reclamation of identity. Mellersh almost erased her. And Mrs. Arbuthnot, Rose, sheds her self-appointed role as martyr.
The husbands, Mellersh and Frederick, represent the patriarchal constraints they are escaping. Mellersh, with his calculations about fish and rainy days, and Frederick with his detachment and scandalous literary pursuits. Both, in their own ways, diminished their wives.
And then the unexpected arrival of the husbands. That's a huge turning point. Mellish, driven by jealousy and suspicion, and Frederick by a strange, almost bored curiosity. Their presence threatens to shatter the fragile peace the women have built.
That scene when Mellersh arrives. He's so possessive and indignant. He can't fathom why Lottie would want to be away from him or spend her own money. He's such a petty, controlling figure. And Lottie, for the first time, stands up to him, however meekly at first.
The castle has already begun to fortify her. She's no longer the invisible, stammering Mrs. Wilkins. She's Lottie, and she's found her voice, however small. And Frederick's arrival is even more intriguing.
Frederick, who never expressed interest in her life, suddenly appears. Not because he misses her, but because of some obscure intellectual whim, perhaps. His detached amusement, as Mrs. Arbuthnot predicted, would be more hurtful than Mellersh's anger.
But something shifts even in Frederick. The beauty of San Salvatore, the softened, happier version of his wife, it must penetrate his intellectual armor, even a little. The book implies a subtle thawing.
A very subtle thawing. He's a hard nut to crack, but the setting changes everyone. It's not just the women who transform. The men are affected by the atmosphere of joy and genuine connection, even if they don't fully admit it.
And the young artist, Mr. Briggs, the owner, who first sparked Mrs. Arbuthnot's interest, he reappears, drawn to the castle perhaps by a similar longing for beauty and peace. He brings another layer of male perspective, a contrast to the husband's.
He's the innocent male presence, in a way. He sees Rose as a Madonna, genuinely appreciates her gentle nature. He's not burdened by expectations or past hurts. He's simply observant and appreciative of beauty, inside and out.
He's a foil, a reminder of what a healthy male-female dynamic could be, free from the constraints of marriage and societal expectations that have crippled the other relationships.
It's interesting how the narrative subtly weaves in the other characters' transformations. Lady Caroline, who craves isolation, finds unexpected connection. She begins to drop her guard, to genuinely laugh, to enjoy the company of these ordinary women.
Her flirtation with the idea of having a child, even briefly, it's such a tender moment for her. She's so cynical, but San Salvatore allows for glimpses of a deeper, more vulnerable self. She's not just escaping. She's discovering what she might want.
She still prefers to be away from the madding crowd, but her definition of that crowd expands to include more than just her social set. She finds value in the quiet company of others who are also seeking solace.
And Mrs. Fisher, the historian, who initially just wanted to remember the dead, starts to live in the present. The flowers, the sunshine, the conversations, they pull her away from her venerated ghosts and into the vibrant immediacy of Italy.
She starts telling stories about living people. She even starts to see the value in Mrs. Wilkins's visions. There's a scene where she looks at Lottie with a completely new, almost affectionate gaze. Her sternness softens.
The stick, which initially symbolized her physical and emotional stiffness, starts to become less of a crutch and more of a pointer, a tool for engaging with the world around her, rather than just pointing at old photographs.
The communal dinners are a significant setting for these shifts. Initially, there's this polite distance, but as the month progresses, the conversations become freer, more personal. They begin to truly see each other, not just their roles.
Food is always central in these transformations, isn't it? The simple, fresh Italian food, a stark contrast to Mellish's preferred souls. It's nourishment for the soul as much as the body.
It's a holistic experience. The food, the air, the light, the lack of pressure. San Salvatore acts like a pressure release valve, allowing their true selves to surface. The artificial constructs of their London lives simply melt away under the Italian sun.
And the revelation of their true names, Lottie for Mrs. Wilkins, Rose for Mrs. Arbuthnot, it's such a powerful symbol of their reclamation of identity. They are no longer defined by their husbands or their duties, but by who they intrinsically are.
And the scene where Mrs. Arbuthnot finally confronts Frederick, not with anger, but with a quiet, firm assertion of her own needs and newfound happiness. It's so powerful because it's not dramatic. It's just a clear, unequivocal statement of self-worth.
She's no longer the martyr. She's not trying to save him or convert him. She's simply living her truth, and that in itself is a profound challenge to his detachment. He's forced to acknowledge her as an individual, not just a pious extension of his household.
The ending, with all of them changed, and the unspoken understanding that this month has irrevocably altered their lives. They can't go back to being the women they were before, even if their external circumstances haven't entirely changed.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's not about escaping permanently, but about finding a core of happiness and strength within themselves that they can carry back into their lives. They're inoculated against the gloom.
They're equipped. The Enchanted Month isn't a permanent solution, but a profound reorientation. They've seen what happiness feels like, and that knowledge is a powerful thing. It's like a seed planted that will continue to grow.
It raises questions about the nature of happiness, doesn't it? Is it an external circumstance or an internal state? The book suggests it's a bit of both, but that the external can certainly unlock the internal.
And the courage to pursue it, even when it feels selfish or wrong. That's what Lottie, our little trailblazer, teaches us. Sometimes being good is actually being detrimental to your own spirit and to those around you because you're so miserable.
which is a remarkably subversive idea for the early 20th century. Von Arnim is quietly radical, isn't she? Suggesting that women's self-fulfillment is not only desirable, but necessary, even if it upsets the patriarchal apple cart.
Absolutely. She explores female friendships and solidarity in a way that feels very modern. These women, from completely different backgrounds, find common ground in their shared yearning for something more, and they support each other, even implicitly, in pursuing it.
The novel is so much about breaking free from expectations. Lady Caroline from social expectations, Mrs. Arbuthnot from religious and wifely expectations, Mrs. Wilkins from her husband's stifling control, and Mrs. Fisher from the confines of the past.
And the castle itself is almost an active character. It doesn't just sit there. It influences, it nurtures, it reveals. The enchantment isn't a magical spell, but the inherent power of beauty and peace to transform the human spirit.
That's a really great point, Isaac. It's not a magical castle in the fairy tale sense, but it feels magical because of its effect. It's a place where they can truly be themselves, away from the judgmental gaze of London society.
And the lingering question, what happens next? The book ends with them going back, but you feel that they can never truly revert. They've tasted freedom, and that taste will linger.
It's not a fantasy. It's a pragmatic idealism. They're returning to their lives, but with a renewed sense of self and purpose. The struggle will continue, but now they have tools and a memory of wistaria.
It's a powerful argument for the necessity of self-care and personal happiness, even in the face of societal pressures and duties. A quiet rebellion, beautifully told. I think that's why it resonates so much, even today.
Absolutely. I kept thinking about Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own while reading this. The idea of women needing their own space, their own intellectual and emotional freedom. San Salvatore is that room, in a way, but on a grander scale.
It's a physical manifestation of that needed space, a temporary one, but its impact is permanent. The novel implicitly asks, what would happen if all women had such an opportunity?
Indeed. And the idea that sometimes to be truly good or truly effective in helping others, you must first tend to your own well-being. Mrs. Arbuthnot's initial guilt is entirely flipped by the end. Her renewed spirit will make her a better person for everyone.
And Lottie, our dear Lottie, will no longer be invisible. Mellersh will have to contend with a wife who has found her voice, who has a secret stash of happiness and vivid memories. It's a quiet revolution.
A very British revolution, then. Polite, understated, but utterly transformative. The power of a month in Italy to unravel years of repression. It's almost too simple, and yet it's profoundly effective.
It really is. The simplicity is deceptive. The emotional depth, the nuanced character development, it's all there, woven into this seemingly light, charming story. Elizabeth Von Arnim is truly masterful in that regard. She makes it look effortless.
And the imagery. I can still smell the lemons and the wistaria. The way she describes the light, the color, it's so vibrant. You feel like you're there with them, experiencing it all.
The book functions as a kind of literary aromatherapy. You breathe it in and you feel better. It's a tonic.
A tonic. I like that, Isaac. It really is. A wonderful, refreshing read. Well, friends, our hour is almost up, but I feel like we could talk about the transformative power of Italian sunshine and found family for another day.
I certainly could. This book left me with such a warm, optimistic glow. It's a reminder that it's never too late to find joy.
Or to realize you're already miserable and need to do something about it. A good kick in the pants for introspection.
Precisely. So to our listeners, we want to know, if you could escape to San Salvatore for a month, what one thing from your current life would you most hope to leave behind? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you've enjoyed our ramblings on the Enchanted April, please consider enchanting your podcast player by hitting that subscribe button. It helps us bring more of these delightful discussions to you.
Or don't, but you'll miss out on future blunt observations. Your choice.
Always the motivator, Isaac. Thank you both, Albert and Isaac, for another fantastic conversation. And thank you, dear listeners, for joining us in the AAI Common Room. Until next time, keep reading
and keep discussing.